Hello. When we last left our family, they'd encountered a little bit of a problem, and they're about to find an interesting solution. And like some of the rest of us, sometimes that solution brings problems of its own, doesn't it? The problem was that by the time the new school term began, Polly had gone from being nearly always at home to nearly always at work. Theo seemed to be nearly always at work already, and when his extra shifts began, life took a lot of organisation. Polly made worry lists, adding things to the bottom faster than she ticked them off the top. As well as school and uniform, they had to find a school bus for Abby and a cycle route for Max. Polly ticked bus Abby and bike route Max off the top of her worry list and wrote a few more things on the bottom. The very last thing added was rocking horse room. The rocking horse room was the name that first Louis and then the whole family had given to the sitting room. "Do you think we'll ever get it done?" asked Polly, looking around it one day. It was still untouched, except that Rocky had moved in, together with the old sofa that was too big for the kitchen. "Only needs cleaning and a fire," said Theo. "Rugs," said Polly, "and curtains." "A proper-sized telly," said Theo. "Max and I are tired of miniature football." "Football can never be too miniature," said Polly. "The panelling polished and the ceiling painted." Theo looked up at the ceiling, which had a garland of plaster leaves and roses round the edge, all laced together with dirty cobwebs. "Brushing first, then painting," he said. "That chimney needs sweeping." "How do you know?" "Soot comes down when it rains. In Scotland, in the old days," said Theo, who'd lived there till he was 6 and therefore considered himself a Scot, "they would get a bunch of heather, tie it to a rock, climb on the roof, drop it down the chimney." "This is London," said Polly. "North," said Theo. "Practically Scotland. It's so north." "You can see the Shard," said Polly. "Sometimes, nearly, now and then. So it's London. Anyway, it's definitely not Scotland." She flopped down on the sofa to write rocks, chimney, no, on her worry list. "What else is on it?" asked Theo. "Abby. I'm worried about Abby. She's so quiet that sometimes it's almost like she vanishes, and when she's not vanished, she's reading. Do you think she reads too much?" "I used to wonder that, but her granny said it's not possible," said Theo, "and Abby and I have a vanishing agreement, so cross that off your list too. Go on, what's next?" "Mrs. Puddock." "Mrs. Puddock? I know you'd laugh, but that joke's gone on too long. Poor Louis." "Oh, Theo." Theo looked at her. "How will I tell him I have to go away?" "Do you, Poll?" "Yes. Not for long. At least 3 weeks, maybe more. That's also on my list." "How to tell you?" "Polly," said Theo, hugging her, "we knew from the start it would probably happen. I'll look after Louis." "Max is on the list too. The other day he said to me, 'Obviously Dad won't be coming back now Theo's on the scene.' After more than 5 years of not hearing a word from his father. Who knew he was thinking like that? No wonder he's sometimes so awful." "Max is in no way anything even close to awful," said Theo. "You don't know what awful is, Poll. You should see some of the 14-year-old kids that get brought into A&E at 2 o'clock in the morning, and actually they're not awful either." "I know I should worry about all the other 14-year-olds in London," said Polly, "but right now I just care about Max. He's not got his head round you and Abby yet, and now there's Esme." "Max will soon get used to Esme," said Theo. Esme was Esme the art student. She was the latest addition to the house. Her job was to pick Louis up from his after-school club and stay with him till a grown-up got home. Neither Max nor Abby could do it because picker-uppers had to be over 16. Until Theo's shifts changed after Christmas, Esme was the only way to save Louis from a 10-hour-long school day. Polly had found her by way of a friend who worked at the art college. The friend was Danny's mum. That was the problem. "Why did you have to ask Danny's mum to find someone for Louis?" demanded Max, crashing into the kitchen the first day he heard the news. "Why not? She works at the art college. She's the perfect person," said Polly. She was bound to know a student who wanted to earn a bit extra by babysitting. Max had finished, dropping his school bag and kicking it. "Babysitting," he repeated, slumping down in a kitchen chair. "Babysitting," he complained, shoving away a mug of tea so hard it tipped and flooded the table. Louis's homework book and a pile of clean school shirts. "Max, leave me alone," said Max. The school week had started perfectly well for Max. Very well, hilariously well, only the day before. He'd arrived in the entrance hall just in time to see his good friend Danny doing his morning locker jumps. Danny was as short as Max was tall. He was the shortest person in the school, yet at the start of term he'd been given a top row locker. Out of pride he'd refused to swap. Instead he did a lot of jumping. So far Max had politely ignored his friend's locker jumping antics. He should have carried on ignoring them. He should not have laughed, and gripped him by the shoulders of his next elder brother's old Rip Parker and hoisted him up to reach. And yet at the time Max had hardly noticed that he'd done it. It had been a 5-minute joke, the sort of thing he did to Louis every day. However, Danny wasn't Louis. Louis didn't care. Danny did. Danny had spluttered and wriggled till he tumbled right to the floor, leaving his empty jacket in Max's hands. Then he scrambled to his feet, grabbed his jacket and marched away without a word. His revenge had come the next morning. That day, Danny, trusted partner in the bike repair and car cleaning business, long-time best friend Danny, had yelled across the crowded school entrance hall, "Oi, Max, my mum says she's found you a really good babysitter." "What?" Max demanded. "What did you just say? What?" "She's found you a babysitter," Danny had shouted, even louder than the first time. "She said to tell you to let your mum know. Esme, she's called. She's an art student." Danny had to pause at that point, to double up with laughter at the sight of Max's face. "She can be with you every day, right up to Christmas." "What are you actually on about, Danny?" "She's just what you need, Mum said, and she's French." "French? French? What do you mean, French?" "French is what they call people from France," explained Danny, now enjoying himself very much indeed. "E.g., your new babysitter. Don't tell me you don't want a French babysitter, Max." Lots of people were listening now, listening and laughing and egging Danny on. People coming in late were asking, "Hey, what's this about?" "It's about Esme, the art student," Danny explained obligingly. "My mum sorted her out for Max to babysit. She's French." Howls of laughter, calls and whistles. "I've got a picture if you want to see what she's like," continued Danny helpfully, "from when I went to college with Mum yesterday to help set up an exhibition. There." Danny fished out his phone and produced a photo of his mum's art class with himself in the middle like a mascot. Max had refused to look, but everyone else crowded round. "Wow," said some of the boys, and "definitely French," said some of the girls. "Too good for Maxie, babe, that's for sure," said awful Danny, ex-best friend. Max's French babysitter was the best news of the term. Ever since then, Max, round-faced, logical, ordinary Max, the Max who had made the first joke, was even almost beginning to get his head round Theo and Abby, had become a new person. A bad-tempered, door-slamming, prejudiced against art students type of person. A person who found it completely impossible to be in the same room as 18-year-old Esme, preferring, if necessary, to sulk upstairs for hours. Whatever Theo said to comfort Polly, Max had not got used to Esme.